What's up guys, today we're going to be talking about the Kebos Lowlands and what you can do to prepare for the update. It is coming out the second week of January. More precisely, it's going to be out on January 10th. So there is a whole lot coming with this update, so I'm going to go through all of the things and I'm going to talk about how to prepare for each one. You can choose which one you want to prepare for, if you want to prepare for all of them, or maybe you're already ready for all of them. But first off, we're going to start with the farming guild. So the requirements for the farming guild are 45 farming for the first tier, 65 for the second, and 85 for the third. So obviously if you don't have any of those farming levels, you want to get your farming up. Then it also has a 60% Hosidius house favor requirement. So you want to go get your 60% over at the Hosidius house. So the farming guild, why would you want to prepare for the farming guild? What is good about the farming guild? There's a whole bunch of new patches, which is going to make farming quicker to train. So you want access to those if you plan on training farming. There's a cactus patch, allotment and flower patches, bush patch, herb patch, tree patch, fruit tree patch, spirit tree patch, and then some new patches, the Hespori patch, anima patch, redwood patch, and the celestris patch. The Hespori patch is kind of like a new demi-boss that you can fight after growing it. The anima patch provides bonuses to every other farming area in the game. Celestris is like you can grow battle staffs, which is kind of interesting. And then there's going to be a new thing called farming contracts at the farming guild. And basically what they are is a farming master gives you an assignment to grow a certain type of seed. Once you grow that, you get rewarded with seeds. You can also get the bottomless compost bucket. And farming contracts are going to be a source for a lot of the new seeds. So I'm sure farming contracts are going to be fairly good passive money. And because it's random what they're going to assign you to plant, one thing you could do to prepare for this if you are interested, possibly buy a whole bunch of various different seeds beforehand, because they may rise after this update comes out. Have them in the bank prepared so you don't have to go and buy them as you're assigned. That is assuming that you have the money to do this without it hurting your bank, because it could be very possible that they don't rise and it's better to just buy them as you get assigned the certain seeds. Also, you can have a spirit sapling ready to go. I don't know about the transportation to the farming guild, but if there isn't any very good transportation, Spirit Tree is one way to get there really quick if you have the farming level to plant one of those. Next up, we're going to talk about the Brimstone, which is I think what most people are anticipating. And what the Brimstone includes is a new Slayer Master and a new Slayer Dungeon. The Slayer Master requires 75 combat, and there is no Slayer level required. And so what's unique about the Slayer Master is that he or she assigns you to kill monsters in certain areas, which I'm sure is going to slow down the XP compared to slaying efficiently with other masters. If you get Dust Devils, you can't just go to the catacombs and barrage them. You're going to have to go to the dungeon in the desert and cannon them or something like that, or at least that's a possibility. So why would you want to use this Slayer Master? You get 18 points for every task. Duradel is only 15, so there is a slight bump up there. There's a new global drop table for every single monster that you kill on task. It's scaled by the monster's combat level, so the higher the combat level, the more likely you are to hit this new global drop table. And there's two possibilities. There's generic loot, which is supposed to just be small stuff that gives you a bit more profit during a task. And then there is the Dragon Hosta. The other reason why you would want to use the Slayer Master is if you are looking to kill the Alchemical Hydra, which requires 95 Slayer. If you're not 95 Slayer and you don't care about getting a Dragon Hosta, which I don't think is going to be worth that much, then this master is probably not the master that you want to use. And there is a bit of confusion. I think a lot of people think that you need to use this master to get any of the new Slayer monsters that are coming out with this new dungeon, or to kill anything in the dungeon, but that is incorrect. Every single new Slayer monster that is coming out with this dungeon, besides the Alchemical Hydra, is killable off task. And not only that, but most of them you can get a task of from other Slayer Masters. So I'm going to go through the new Slayer monsters, and then I will talk about what you can do to prepare for this new Slayer Master and the new Slayer Dungeon. So the new Slayer Dungeon is single way. You can't barrage anything there. There is both a task-only area and a non-task area. You must wear boots of stone, brimstone boots, or granite boots inside this dungeon. So the first new Slayer monster is Sulfur Lizards. They have a 44 Slayer requirement, and there's nothing special about them. They drop nothing special. They don't have any special mechanics, and this is going to affect the rest of the game as well. Desert Lizard tasks are now just going to be called Lizard tasks, and you can choose to either kill these sulfur lizards, or you can choose to kill desert lizards. The reason for these is just for more variety. The next new Slayer monster is Wyrms. They have a 62 Slayer requirement. They are assigned by Duradel, Neve, Cheldar, and Konar. They have a very rare chance of dropping dragon swords and dragon harpoons, dragon throwing axes, and dragon knives. So all of those besides the knives are coming from Chamber of Xerix, and with this update, Chamber of Xerix will no longer drop those items. This is a pretty low level Slayer monster, so I'm not sure whether those items are going to drop in price or go up in price. It says an extremely rare chance, so I imagine that could be a 1 in 5,000, kind of like the Dragon Warhammer. If that's the case, I could see them going up in price. If it's more like a 1 in 500 drop, then I see them going down in price by a lot. The next new Slayer monster is Drakes. They require level 84 Slayer. They are assigned by Duradel, Neve, and Konar. They use melee and range attacks. They drop the dragon throwing axes and dragon knives. They also drop claws and teeth. You combine the claws with boots of stone to make the new brimstone boots, which are sort of like hybrid boots. They aren't really good for any one thing, but they do have stats for all 3 combat styles. You combine the teeth with holy sandals to make some even better prayer boots. Next up is the Hydra, which requires 95 Slayer. This is assigned by Konar only, but it is in both the Slayer only area and the non-Slayer area. So you can kill this off task, and you can kill all of the previously mentioned monsters off task as well. So the Hydra uses both range and mage attacks. It drops the dragon axes and dragon knives. It also drops 3 pieces to a ring. When you combine those 3 pieces, it creates the new Brimstone Ring, which is a hybrid ring. It has stats for all combat styles. It does have a special effect. It has a 1 in 4 chance of ignoring 10% of the opponent's magic defense. So I could see this being very useful in the wilderness for catching magic attacks. Then it also drops the Hydra Tail, which you can combine with the Dragon Bone Necklace. And this creates the Bone Crusher Necklace. It has the effects of the Bone Crusher plus the effects of the Dragon Bone Necklace. And then the final new Slayer monster is the Alchemical Hydra. You can only be assigned this by Konar, and you can only kill this on task. It has all of the drops the Hydra has, and then in addition to that, it has a pet drop, Ferocious Gloves, and the Hydra Claw. The Ferocious Gloves are new best in slot melee gloves. The Hydra Claw can be combined with the Zamorakian Hasta to create the Dragon Hunter Lance. The Dragon Hunter Lance is going to be probably the biggest, most valuable item from this entire update. What the Dragon Hunter Lance does is it gives you plus 20% accuracy and damage to dragons. It's like the melee version of the Dragon Hunter crossbow, and I see it being very overpowered at certain areas. It also only has a 70 attack requirement. So now that we've gone through all of the monsters, what can you do to prepare for the new Slayer Master and the new Slayer monsters and dungeon? So the very first thing, of course, you need 75 combat to use the new Slayer Master, so you want to get 75 combat if you don't already. In order to go inside the dungeon, you need to have one of 3 boots that I mentioned earlier. 2 of them are new. One of the new ones only costs 200 GP, so you can buy that on the day of the update, or you can buy granite boots right now. They are pretty expensive, but they are better than the 200 GP boots and are in fact the best boots that you can use there until Brimstone boots start coming into the game, and in fact are even better than the boots of Brimstone for melee. So buy those granite boots up right now if you want to have the best melee boots for the dungeon. The dungeon is single way, so you can't barrage it, but you can use a cannon. So I would buy a cannon, cannonballs, and I imagine a lot of the tasks, the areas that you're going to be assigned to kill monsters, I bet are not going to be in multi-way combat, so you want to buy a cannon and a cannonball because I'm sure you're going to want to use a cannon for most of these Slayer assignments. You want to buy all of the normal Slayer gear or supplies like prayer potions, combat potions, range potions, food. Also, if you can, try and unlock all of the teleportation to different Slayer dungeons. Unlock fairy rings. That is a very big one. Unlock Slayer rings, and then various diary equipment. Unlock all of those if you can. That will probably be pretty helpful. If you're killing drakes, it says that they use melee and range attacks, so you probably want to have some pretty tanky gear. So I'd buy some Barrows equipment or possibly some God Wars dungeon equipment. Make sure you have the highest end gear that you can get for melee and range defense. The regular Hydras, they use mage and range attacks. So you're going to want kind of a mixed setup for these probably. I imagine Carol's tops are going to be pretty good for this, kind of like what you would take for God Wars dungeon bosses, where you want both mage and range defense. And then if you plan on killing the alchemical Hydra, I would recommend saving up a bunch of Slayer points so that you can skip tasks and get a lot of these tasks on the day of release, because that is when things are going to be most valuable and when you want to kill them the most. And of course, get the Slayer level required for whichever one that you want to kill. 62 Slayer being pretty much the lowest for any of the new monsters that have any sort of good drops. The next thing we're going to talk about is aerial fishing. This one, there isn't really any big rewards, not any monetary rewards. There is an equipable fishing rod, equipable fly fishing rod, equipable barbarian fishing rod, fish sack, and a golden tench. For the most part, this is just a new fishing method to train up fishing and hunter. What you want to do to prepare for this is get your fishing and hunter up to get better XP rates while doing this. And other than that, there isn't much to say about it. So next up, there is a new achievement diary coming out for Zaya. So I'm going to go over the rewards that are actually kind of worth it. First, from the medium, you get a 5% chance to mine 2 dense essence blocks rather than 1. From the hard diary, you can combine the Slayer helmet with the Shazian Helm 5. Which will be good for the Lizard Shaman tasks. You also get a 5% increased yield from all of the farming patches on Zaya. Then for the Elite, you will get 20 Slayer points from Konar instead of 18. You have a 10% reduced burn rate at the city kitchens, which is normally 5%, and you get 10% more blood runes while runecrafting blood runes. And then we have all of the requirements for the diary, so I will just go ahead and list them here. You can pause the video and read them. I don't think too much needs to be said here. Go for these stats, try and get them, and you'll be ready for the achievement diary. And that is it for this video, so thank you for watching, and see you tomorrow.